Did you know Tide has been upgraded to provide an even better clean in cold water? Tide is specifically designed to fight any stain you throw at it, even in cold. Butter? Yep. Chocolate ice cream? Sure thing. Barbecue sauce? Tide's got you covered. You don't need to use warm water. Additionally, Tide Pods let you confidently fight tough stains with new Coldzyme technology. Just remember, if it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
Comcast is committed to bringing access to the internet to all Americans, including rural communities across the country, like Sussex County, Delaware.
We were being left behind. Everybody around us seemed to have internet, but we did not. High-speed internet is one of those good things that we needed to help us move our farming, our small businesses, our recreation forward.
Learn more about how we're bringing our next-generation network to more people across the country at ComcastCorporation.com/investment in America.
Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds makes for a wholly amazing, wholly delicious experience that's, well, wholly Hershey's. Everyone should get to experience the satisfying surprise of a whole almond tucked inside creamy Hershey's chocolate. So don't wait your whole life to try Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds. And if you've already had it, then chances are you're already a lifelong fan of this confectionery delight. Find Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds wherever candy is sold.
Hello, everyone. I just want to tell you about a podcast I think you'll enjoy. If you're like me, I'm always on the podcast apps looking for something else scary to add to my feed. And this one is called The Most Terrifying Places in America by the Travel Channel. On the podcast, they visit some of the creepiest locations across the United States. They go to a hotel in New England where guests wake up and they're covered in scratches. My personal favourite is the one where there's a church in the middle of the woods and the security guards have to stay there for the night, and it's really, really creepy. There's so many different places on there. Get yourself a nice coffee or tea, pop it on and enjoy. Listen to The Most Terrifying Places in America wherever you get your podcast.
This is not a drill. You can get the new iPhone 16e with Apple Intelligence for just $49.99 when you switch to Boost Mobile.
Wait, that's the actual fire alarm. We need to go. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store for full offer details. Apple Intelligence requires iOS 18.1 or later. Restrictions apply.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Toby.
And welcome to day 1 of 14 days of summer fear.
Yeah.
So for this series, we've got 14 days of scary summer-themed stories. So they include all sorts. We've got Sasquatch. We've got national parks and ghosts. We've got camping stories. We've even got werewolf story. So we've got all sorts going on, just to freak you out if you're going camping or on your holidays. So I've got 3 stories to share today. I'll get straight into it. Are you ready for the first story?
Yes, I am.
My first time backpacking. These events occurred 2 summers ago in the Grand Teton area. My boyfriend at the time, now husband, let's call him H, was an avid outdoorsman and also served in the military. I was an ecology major and wanted to spend more time outdoors, so he decided to take me on my first backpack, just the 2 of us. For those who aren't familiar, the Grand Tetons are well known for their wildlife, specifically grizzly bears. My only experience with bears up to this point was watching a little black bear cross the road from the safety of my car. Seeing grisly country signs around every corner wasn't doing much to calm my nerves. First incident. My boyfriend looked like Indiana Jones, machete hanging from his belt, large knives attached to each side of his pack, bear spray strapped to his waist. You get the picture. The beginning of our 25-mile journey was all uphill. When in bear country, you're supposed to make noise as to not startle the wildlife by accidentally sneaking up on it. As you can imagine, going up a steep hill while carrying a 40-pound pack makes it difficult to have a conversation. We were an hour in and almost at the top of the ascent. I noticed that the woods had gone completely silent, save for the rushing stream that was to our left of the trail. Silent woods are never a good sign. This usually indicates predators nearby. At this point, I was in front of my boyfriend, and we were about to crest the hill. For the past 20 minutes, we had not said a word to each other, having been too tired to speak. We noticed the silence at the same time, and gave each other knowing glances. I came up over the top of the hill and immediately froze. Sitting not 10 feet in front of me, in the middle of the trail, was a grizzly bear. My husband wasn't aware yet, as he was behind me, so I did the first thing I could think of. While still in my frozen stance, I managed to take my arm and started flinging it wildly behind me, trying to get H's attention. I was too terrified to speak. The bear went from sitting to all fours, not looking away from us once. H quickly swung me around so that I was behind him, and he just started yelling. Being in the military, he knows how to yell. The grizzly wasn't quite fazed, as it started to walk slowly towards us. At this point, I was on the verge of passing out from terror. His bear was about 5 feet in front of us when we heard a loud crack coming from the woods to our right. Bear heard it too, and he bolted towards the stream. A second crack boomed again, this time much closer than before. H said, "It's probably just some falling branches." But we both knew that wasn't the case. At this point, we were walking quickly up the trail in an attempt to create some distance from the grizzly and those strange noises. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand straight up, and at that same moment, H stopped moving in front of me. He turned around to look at me, and I turned to look behind me. To this day, we are not sure what we saw. Back where we were standing was a large black stroke brown mass. It looked to be 3 times bigger than the already large grizzly that we'd seen just a few moments before. Its back was facing us, and then it stood on its back legs. It looked similar to a bear, but something about the shape was just off. At this point, it was probably stupid to run away, but that is exactly what we did. We were aware of heavy footsteps behind us, but neither of us looked back. The footsteps eventually faded. At this point, I was a mess. H was doing his best to console me. "Honey, this is extremely unusual. The bears usually stay away from humans. We're going to be okay. I'm sure that won't happen again." That was enough to convince me to continue on the backpack. Not another hour later, though, we reached a clearing where we decided to take a rest and eat a snack. About a minute after we'd sat down, I noticed bushes moving in a line toward the clearing, toward us. H, being the crazy nut that he is, he decided to charge back at the bear while screaming, "Bear spray at the ready." That did the trick, and the bear ran off. All I could think was, just my luck. But that wasn't even close to what happened the second night. Before we began our backpack, we had to let the ranger station know which trails/route we were planning to take. With this information, they usually send a ranger on horseback at some point during the backpack to check on you to make sure everything is okay. There were not many approved trails left for us to choose from, and it was just our luck that they were the most difficult. Apparently, over the 3 days we were on those trails, we'd been the sole hikers. We didn't see a single other person once we were en route. Anyhow, I guess we missed the ranger who came to check on us. We'd been following hoof prints the entire second day, and we hadn't seen any the day before. I had some foot problems, so we spent valuable daylight trying to adjust my boots, laces, socks, to compensate for the pain. When we started on the trail again, we had maybe an hour or two of daylight left, and in the woods, it gets dark fast. I was exhausted. It was now dark out, and H was the only one with a working headlamp, as mine wouldn't even turn on for some reason. We needed to find somewhere to set up camp, as we still needed to eat. It was freezing and the wind was blowing. It was creating a howling sound as it rushed through the trees, which made it difficult to hear H or discern any other sounds coming from the woods. After another hour of hiking through the dark, we found a clearing. Well, it was more like a bowl. It looked to be about 200 metres in diameter, with the sides being 10 metres down from the trail to the bottom of the clearing. This place was strange. We both felt it, though he didn't tell me how freaked out he was until after we had left. There was no moonlight, so all we had was the illumination from his headlamp, our small camp stove, and the flashlight that I fished from my pack. Half of the trees were dead, fallen just in the bowl. The vegetation everywhere else was very dense. To help alleviate my anxiousness, he started playing Ninja Sex Party out of his portable speaker. This didn't help much, as it just echoed off the trees, creating a dissonance of sound. He also thought it would ward off any predators nearby. This is when we knew our anxiousness wasn't paranoia. The silence was back. There hadn't been a single bird chirp since we arrived at the clearing. It also may have had to do with the obnoxious music, but because of our previous experience, we decided to turn off the music and head into the tent. Also, it was freezing. As soon as we were situated in our sleeping bags, we heard deep cracks and thuds echoing from beyond the tree line. Falling trees? There'd been a lot of wildfires and very little rain this season. Thud. We both froze. The sound wasn't an echo. It came from inside the clearing. Definitely not a falling tree. Thud. It came from right outside our tent. We both stopped breathing. H's hand found mine and we clung to each other, paralysed. Something dragged across the outside of our tent, making an indent as it went along. It was thin, almost like a finger. "What is it?" I whispered, shaking. "I don't know. Shouldn't be a person. We're the only ones on this side of the mountain." I was trying my hardest to stifle sobs, trying to listen to what was outside. I could hear steps, but couldn't decipher what it was. The steps stopped, and then the whole side of the tent was slowly pushed inwards. At this point, whatever was outside knew we were inside, so I shone my flashlight at the side of the tent. What I saw made my blood run cold. It was the shape of a human face pressed into the tent wall. I could make out the nose and an open mouth. Each time they breathed, it made the tent around their mouth billow in and out. H said, "Stuff that," and pulled a Glock from his sleeping bag. He cocked it, and the sound shattered the silence. The face pulled back, and we heard fast footsteps heading towards the edge of the clearing. We didn't leave the tent till the sun was shining the next morning. The first thing we noticed was the smell of urine. We came out of the tent and looked around. Whoever it was had peed on our coals we had left in the fire, leaving a disgusting stench of evaporated pee. Footprints surrounding our tent, circling around multiple times, muddy handprints decorating the outside of our tent. We think it was mud, anyway. The takeaway: wildlife is not the most dangerous thing in the backcountry. What do you think that was, Toby?
I think it's someone just mocking it.
You didn't think it was a Sasquatch?
No.
I suppose it could have been, but I also thought that they may have been camped up in a Sasquatch's lair. So that bowl could have been like the Bigfoot's den, and it was like, you're in my space.
Yeah.
Wandering around outside. The one thing that they didn't say were about any sort of footprints out there and what type they were. But peeing on a fire, I'm not... yeah, quite possibly a human would do that. But then they did think it was a predator because everything went quiet. So who knows? Who knows but spooky?
Yeah.
Are you ready for the second story?
Yes, I am.
Summer camp light in Jersey Pine Barrens. In the early 90s, my parents sent me to a YMCA summer camp in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. It was called Matalionki and was located on the shores of a series of man-made lakes in Medford Lakes, so not exactly backwoods. We all knew the stories of the Jersey Devil, but the camp had a few of its own ghost stories. The White Lady, said to have jumped off a bridge on her wedding day, and Hatchet Harry, an axe-wielding maniac who got kids who wandered into the woods. Both stories, I assume, were to keep kids from wandering off. What I encountered was neither of those. I woke up in the middle of the night, in my bunk, hearing some rustling in the bushes. The cabins were basically a half wall with screened windows all around, save for the back wall, with 8 bunk beds, 4 on each side. You could lay in your bunk and look right out the window. It really sucked when it rained because there were no shutters to close. I'd heard this rustling, so I grabbed my flashlight and shone it into the bushes across from the front of the cabin, sweeping from bottom to top. There was nothing else in that direction, save for woods, as our cabin group was right on the edge of camp. I didn't see anything out there, so I put my flashlight out and got ready to settle back in. But then this light appeared. It was this bluish white light and flickering slightly, sort of like a firefly. The light slowly followed the same path my flashlight had traced, bottom to top, then disappeared. It scared the heck out of me, but I didn't bother to wake my grouchy counsellor. She wouldn't have believed me anyway, since I was already seen as a troublemaker. So I just squidged down in my sleeping bag and tried to get back to sleep. Never saw it again after that point. My best guess is some sort of firefly that thought my flashlight was a prospective mate. Although the fireflies in this area usually had a greenish hue. I've shared this story before on Reddit, but never really got any response. But I found this sub the other day and decided to post. Now, the Pine Barrens, that's the Jersey Devil, and we covered that in one of our earlier episodes, didn't we? So what do you think on these blue lights? Berries?
Nah. It's, I don't know, some mystical creature.
Yeah? I like your thinking. I remember going camping, well, in a caravan actually, with my mum and her wife years ago. And I was having a bit of a joke because we were sat up on the hill in this caravan, and opposite you could see another hill. And you'd see all of these lights coming down the hill. And I'd said, oh yeah, that's that farmer. He was after me, flashing his light. And it wasn't, it was just the car headlamps, and I was in my 20s. I was like, oh yeah, there he goes again, trying to get my attention. Are you ready for the third story?
Yes, I am.
Unsettling camping experience. Alright, so I've decided to share this story in case anyone has had a similar experience. In the summer of 2023, I was camping with my family in Beaver Creek Campground in Montana for a few nights while visiting Yellowstone. The first night, there was the most unsettling experience I have ever had. My mother, stepfather, and his brother had all gone to sleep around midnight, while I stayed up for about an hour by the fire. It was pitch black when I decided to snuff the fire and head to my tent to sleep. After about 20 minutes laying in my tent, I began to hear sniffing noises immediately outside my tent. Fearing it was a bear, I was frozen. This continued for a while, until I heard the familiar breathing and shaking noises of a dog. I relaxed, supposing a nearby camper's dog had wandered. I stopped hearing the dog after a while, but then I heard footsteps walking around our campsite, and the sound of a large stick being dragged along the ground all around. Then I was frozen in fear again at the possibility of a stranger walking around our campsite in pitch darkness. Suddenly, an obvious camera flash had gone off right in front of my tent. I was frozen solid in fear. Later, it felt as though an animal or person had laid down and cradled the corner of my tent. I felt presence for about 5 minutes, and kept feeling as if something was lightly fidgeting with the corners of the tent. Still frozen, I prayed for this to stop. But then I was forced to make this person, or whatever, acknowledge my awareness of the situation when I sensed another's touch on the zipper of my tent door. I called out loudly, "Who's there?" My stepdad awoke and called out to me, while I was too afraid to open my door. 10 seconds passed when I knew he was out of his tent with his gun. Then I emerged. However, there was nothing there, and after I called out, I didn't hear or sense any movement going away from the campsite. All the while, my mum and stepdad have a dog in their tent, which reacted to nothing the whole time. I slept in the car the next 2 nights, and nothing else happened. Anyone have any weird encounters like this in Montana, near Yellowstone, or in general? Thank you for reading my story.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Hey, this is Freddy from Dungeons and Daddies. And if you're like me, buying anything turns into a nightmare research spiral. But listen, if you're trying to upgrade your phone, I'm about to save you from yourself. Because right now you can get the new iPhone 16e with Apple Intelligence for when you switch at your nearest Boost Mobile store. That's a brand spanking new iPhone 16e for the incredible price of $49.99. Plus, you're getting all the latest Apple Intelligence features too, like Cleanup, which removes distractions from photos with just a tap. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store for full offer details. Apple Intelligence requires iOS 18.1 or later. Restrictions apply.
I think I'd leave too if I heard somebody cocking up their gun.
Yeah.
That'd be the cue to leave. Interesting that the dog didn't wake up. Do you think another Sam Squanch? Did I say it right?
Sconch.
How do you say it again? Sam Squatch. Sam Squanch. Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
Or just some random person sniffing around the tent.
I reckon it's a wolf.
Yeah. I wonder if there are wolves in that region. I don't know.
I swear there's wolves around there.
Not around here.
Uh-huh. Not around there, but like in the other places.
Yeah. Other places do still have wolves. You know we used to have wolves.
Yeah, nah, that's what I'm saying. We used to have wolves.
We did.
That's the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed and we'll catch up with you again soon.
We will indeed. We'll catch you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Firestone Complete Auto Care's Great Big Tire Sale is here, and it's time to get in on some serious savings. Get up to $280 off when you buy 4 eligible Bridgestone or Firestone tires. Firestone Complete Auto Care. Book now at firestoneauto.com. Conditions apply. See store for details.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Summertime's rolling. It's time to feel joyfully chill with My Mochi ice cream. My Mochi is scoops of creamy ice cream wrapped in sweet dough, like a little ice cream dumpling in amazing flavors like strawberry, mango, and cookies and cream. My Mochi is gluten-free and only 70 calories a pop. Perfect for porch sitting, lake days, or just beating the heat. Grab a purple box of My Mochi, kick back, and let summer taste as sweet as it should. My Mochi ice cream, made for moments like this.